tiếp phẩm tâm trong kinh Pháp Cú. Câu này nói về ý nghĩa, nói về tâm an định, rồi hiểu biết chánh pháp, rồi niềm tin kiên cố. Cái bài này rất là quan trọng, rất là thiết yếu và rất là cần thiết đối với các vị thiền sinh cũng như là Phật tử muốn học hỏi Phật pháp. Nếu mà biết ứng dụng câu này vào đời sống hàng ngày của mình thì sẽ đem lại lợi ích rất là lớn. Khi chúng ta đã vững cái lòng tin đối với một pháp môn tu nào đó thì trước hết thì phải tâm phải an định. Kế đó nữa là mình phải học hỏi Phật chánh pháp. Và khi mình đã học hỏi chánh pháp là phải có lòng tin kiên cố. Câu 38 như thế này: người tâm không an định, không hiểu biết chánh pháp, không tín tâm kiên cố thì không thể thành tựu được trí tuệ cao siêu. Mình tu tập mà tâm mình không an định thì cái tâm mình nó nghĩ chuyện này nghĩ chuyện kia, làm cho mình bất an, vui buồn giận ghét đủ thứ hết. Không hiểu biết chánh pháp, chúng ta không hiểu biết chánh pháp, lời của Phật dạy một cách chân chánh. Chúng ta hiểu tà pháp thì dẫn cho chúng ta đi đến con đường đau khổ, bất an, lo lắng. Hiểu biết chánh đúng theo lời chánh pháp là chúng ta hiểu đúng theo lời Phật dạy. Phật thương chúng sanh giống như mẹ thương con, cho nên chỉ dạy những cái gì hay, cái gì quý, nhằm giúp cho chúng ta tốt về mặt vật chất, thể xác, và tốt về mặt tinh thần, về tâm lúc nào cũng được an định, an lạc. Không tín tâm kiên cố thì không thể thành tựu được trí tuệ cao siêu. Đó là cái tâm mình đã tâm an định rồi, mình hiểu biết chánh pháp rồi, thì kế tiếp nữa là chúng ta phải giữ cái tâm kiên định, nghĩa là chúng ta đi từ đây cho tới mục đích cuối cùng là giác ngộ giải thoát. Khi chúng ta ứng dụng, chúng ta phải giữ cái lòng tin kiên cố, bền bỉ, bền vững lâu dài. Dẫu cho bên ngoài nó có nhiều thay đổi đi chăng nữa thì chúng ta vẫn thực tập từ bước cho đến khi nào giải thoát viên mãn mới thôi. Đó là một thành tựu được trí tuệ cao siêu. Đó là cái bài kinh pháp cú hôm nay quý thầy muốn chia sẻ. Bài này rất là căn bản, rất là thiết yếu, và chúng ta nên học kỹ, có thể là học thuộc lòng để áp dụng cả đời để được lợi ích an lạc. Nam mô Phật.
So tonight we continue with Dhammapada on the subject of the mind, citta. Verse 38 and 39. He whose mind is not steadfast, he who knows not true doctrine, he whose confidence wavers, the wisdom of such a one will never be perfect. He whose mind is not soaked by lust, he who is not affected by hatred, he who has transcended both good and evil, for such a vigilant one there is no fear. So we're talking about the practice and keeping the mind pure, and learning the teaching of the Buddha to help us in our lives, so we don't fall into, so we don't suffer. So the verse 38: he whose mind is not steadfast, he who knows not the true doctrine. True doctrine is the teaching of the Buddha. And you know what those doctrines are? 3 doctrines. Impermanent? What? What would be what are the doctrines?
I know the precepts.
Anatta? No self. Non-self.
Attachment?
Is that?
Is attachment one of them? Non-attachment?
No, that's the non-attachment is a practice within. So non-attachment is part of no self.
Oh.
Suffering. The other, right? you have to understand what suffering is to recognize it and to find a path to overcome suffering. Right? So, what are the suffering? So, verse 39 talks about that. He whose mind is not soaked by lust, he who is not affected by hatred, he who has transcended both good and evil, for such vigilant one there is no fear. So, if we can overcome lust and hatred, right, then we can overcome, or falling into taking sides. Right? In this world where our minds are always good or bad, right or wrong, right, fluctuate from those, and we disagree. Right? That brings us unnecessary suffering. So, when you understand the teaching, those three doctrines, then it helps you, and you apply it within your meditation. That's what meditation part is, so that your mind doesn't wander, you have good focused mind, clear mind, so that you see those doctrines in the world, not understanding it through books. You experience those, right? For example, no self. What does that mean to you? Have you heard? Have you read? Can you?
What is no self?
Yeah, what is no self in the doctrine of the Buddhist teaching? What is it?
Well, that I don't know, but I just know it's a loss of identity. There's no identity.
There's no identity. That's partly true, yes. So no self is that nothing in this world exists on its own and has a single identity. Simple as your name. You have a body, you have a name, right? You respond to the name, you also respond to the body. Right? You can't say that, let's say I'm Sam, you can't say Sam is a name, existent, right? So, and another thing is like, when we talk about attachment, sometimes we get attached to our body as well, form, right? How we look. We suffer from how we look, don't we? Mm-hmm. Little pimple here, little wrinkle there, right? So the attachment in form brings us suffering. Now, if we can see that there is no self, there's nothing that we should attach to, then we liberate ourselves from that attachment of form. Right? So, for example, what's the worst thing in terms of attachment to form? It's death, right? Everybody's afraid of death. Like this, we have an idea, although we understand that we're going to die someday, we never really see ourselves dying, right? We never think about there is a day that we die. There's always some never land, way out in the distance, right? And when we come to it, that moment, it brings us a lot of suffering. The suffering of what? Not letting go of the body. Not letting go of the idea of I am. I'm here for my friends, my family. Loss. That's bringing us suffering, right? As if to say that we should be permanent. We know intellectually, we know that isn't the case. But psychologically or consciously, we don't accept that. So we suffer. Right? So that's one small example of non-self. And then what I spoke to is also non-self and impermanent. Right? The doctrine of impermanent. Everything is fluid. It's always changing. right? Or take the same example. You know, you first met your girlfriend, becomes your wife when she was young, beautiful, all this, right? But then she changed, not only just physical, but her personality as well. She matured, she changed. Her values may change as well, and it may not match with us, and we suffer from that as well. Again, argument, right? Or we go out and we see some younger woman, we're attracted to that, we go home, we look at her, we don't feel the same, right? We feel like we should have something better, perhaps, right? Then we never look at ourselves in the mirror and say the same thing, though. So that's another, the impermanence of aging. Aging is impermanent. So where is the delusion? The delusion is we don't age, or we shouldn't age. But if you understand, scientifically, we die every single moment. Every 7 or 9 years? There's nothing in our body that's old. Every single cell is brand new. It takes about 7 or 9 years to have a process where every single cell of our body is brand new. That means the older cell has to die. They have to die, right? Have to disappear. Right? Imagine if impermanent wasn't the doctrine, wasn't the truth, a baby would always be a baby. We would grow older, right? And our mind, we would be simple-minded, just like a child. We wouldn't mature. Right? So that's why practicing the meditation, yes, it may bring us peace, serenity, may help us to deal with stress. But without understanding it and the doctrine and realize the doctrine through your meditation, through your living experience, you will always walk the path of suffering. Right? So, when you sit and meditate, what do you see? Things that you can't control, right? Thoughts, right? Right? Some thoughts are happy and some thoughts not so happy, you know. You have no control, they just come up. And if we don't have a good practice, then our mind wanders into that thought. What comes up? We get attached to it. And we start to spin story out of that thought. If it's a bad thought, the story gets worse and worse. And we have anger. So anger is one aspect of suffering. Aversion. So in that aspect, there's delusion in there. Right? Delusion means, in Buddhist term, delusion means not seeing things as they are. When we don't see things as they are, we tend to see things as how we want it to be, how it should be to us. And a lot of times, how it should be is always to favor us. But if you live long enough, you notice that hardly anything is how you want it to be, right? There's a lot of things we can't control, like I said. We can't even control our thoughts. When we get angry, can we just say, stop, be happy? No, can't. When what's in our mind doesn't fit what's out in the world, in the real world, that's when we struggle. There's confusion, there's aversion, or hatred, or suffering. Right? It brings suffering. The suffering part is, where is the suffering part when things don't match? The suffering is losing control, right? The thought of losing control. You get anxiety, right? Enough of that comes depression, right? So, how many here have some understanding of the three doctrine? Okay. No? All right. Maybe we should start with that. Yeah. Because if it's, like I said, meditation can get you only to a certain point. That's it. Without wisdom or understanding, that's all you get. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a wound. Doesn't teach you how to deal with the wound. Right? Or how to not get hurt. Okay.
Well, for me, it's like
Yes.
I understand the ego is. I talk to my ego all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I tell him to help her to like calm down,
Mhm.
let it go,
Mm-hmm.
or stop following it, stop trying to control it.
Mm-hmm.
So the ego causes me to suffer because I want.
Mm-hmm.
It's the I want, not I need. But so the ego is always want.
Mm-hmm. So where's this ego? Can you point to that ego?
It's inside me.
Is it inside you?
I think it's inside me. It's inside it's my mind.
The ego is the ego is the consciousness of you that is delusional. That means it doesn't understand the three doctrine.
Right.
So it operates opposite of that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, now I'm learning a lot about the ego, and that's why I talk to my ego all the time.
Mm-hmm. But be careful. You need the ego. The ego is like one side of the coin. Without it, don't get frustrated with the ego. The ego allows you to see
Right.
the non-ego. Allows you to experience the non-ego. Right? Yes.
Can you repeat those three doctrines again real quick?
No self, impermanence, the doctrine on suffering. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else? Anybody have any questions?
Oh, is this the Q&A portion now?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. Okay, no self. And permanent suffering, you said non-attachment falls within non-self. Non-attachment is within non-self.
Well, it kind of falls in all three doctrines, depending on the perspective. Okay, for example, because we don't understand what caused suffering, we actually are attached to things that cause us suffering, but we don't know it because we don't understand what suffering is. We don't realize what it is. No. Okay. Let's say attachment to things. Right? You get attached to your vehicle, you lose a vehicle, or you get scratched. What happens? You suffer. But really, what is a vehicle? It's just a form of transportation for you, right? But because we get so attached to it, it becomes an extension of us. So something happens to the vehicle, it's happening to us. That's how we see things. So that's attachment as it relates to suffering. And a non-self, we talked about that, right? Attachment to the form, right? And attached to impermanent, thinking that things should be always how we want it to be, always the same. But if you think about it, if it's always the same, you're going to suffer from that, regardless of how wonderful it is, as well, right? I'll give you an example. Eating. Think about your favorite food, right? When you first eat it, it's wonderful, very tasty. Imagine you were put in jail, to be put in jail, and that's all you get to eat. After a week, do you think it's wonderful anymore? No. You'll probably be suffering from eating that wonderful food that you thought was so wonderful. Right? So that's the other aspect of suffering as it relates to impermanent.
If I may, I have a question I came in here with.
Uh-huh.
It's related to consciousness. When I meditate, one of the things that happens, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. There's this distance that's created from my thoughts. That my meditation practice creates distance from my thoughts so that I'm able to watch them. I'm able to simply observe them so that even in that moment, even while the mind is still revved up, still agitated, I'm less reactive to it.
Mm-hmm.
For a moment, I'm not reacting to it, even though it's still doing its monkey business.
Mm-hmm.
And that feels good. That feeling is qualitatively different from the feeling of a calm, peaceful mind. Feeling good from a calm mind is conditional. But I notice when there's distance from my thoughts, that well-being is unconditional, because my mind, I have all the markers of stress. My mind is active, and yet I don't feel distraught by it.
By the thought.
Yeah, I don't feel distraught by the thoughts, even though they're active.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually they explode down. But the problem is that watching my thoughts soon becomes just another mental activity. At first I'm watching my thoughts, but then I'm just thinking about watching my thoughts. And then I've lost it. I'm lost in my thoughts again. It's like you're watching it outside a monkey cage, watching the monkeys being angry, fighting. Before you know it, you're inside the monkey cage.
And who's telling you to watch your thought?
Nobody tells me. It just kind of happens when I'm focusing on a sensation in my footsteps, or I keep my attention on my belly while I'm driving and I'm agitated about something, and then all of a sudden I'm just watching those thoughts and go, oh, okay, cool. They're so agitated. But then instantly I'm lost in my thoughts again. There's a moment where I'm able to observe my mind, and then I'm lost in my mind again, and I can't maintain this non-attachment to my thoughts.
Anh chàng nó nói là đôi khi anh ngồi thiền hoặc là anh hoạt động bình thường, xong rồi cái mấy cái chuyện suy nghĩ nó khởi lên, mấy cái anh có thể anh nhận thấy nó, nhưng mà anh bị kéo vô trong đó, anh không có cái bị kéo vô trong đó, anh khổ, bất tâm. Mà có cái phương pháp nào để anh vẫn nhận thấy những cái suy nghĩ đó, những cái phóng tâm đó, mà vẫn giữ cái định.
Mình biết những cái mình khởi tâm đó nó là giả, không có thật, thì tự nhiên mình sẽ quay trở về với tâm an định của mình. Mình không có chạy theo, còn mình quên, mình tưởng nó là thật cho nên mình mới chạy theo, mình sẽ đau khổ. Mình biết những cái khởi đó là nó là cái giả, không có thật. Nhớ lại quá khứ hoặc nghĩ tới tương lai, nó là giả, không có thật, cho nên mình không có chạy theo nó. Mình quay trở về mình sống với tâm an định của mình.
Okay. So when we operate in the present moment, right, we react to things that are real, don't we? Right? That's being in the present. If we react to things that are in the past or future, we're not we're not reacting to things that are real, that are made up, right? It's conjured by the mind, right? Now, you say that you see your thought.
Mm-hmm.
What happens then when you see a thought comes up? What happens?
In that instant, I'm not reactive to it. I'm just noticing even the thoughts, and I'm noticing the mind is active and agitated and upset. And it's kind of interesting that.
Wait a minute. The mind is agitated.
Yeah, meaning there are many thoughts in it. It's spinning lots and lots of thoughts.
Okay. There's nothing wrong with thoughts. We don't meditate, or we don't practice this, so we don't have thoughts.
I know. What's unique is that I notice that the thoughts are happening, and I'm not reactive to them. I'm not lost in them.
But you say you didn't have a calm mind.
Yeah.
That's reaction.
Three things happen. I only mentioned the last one. One is I feel good. You know, if you stare out the window, you'll feel good. If you just play piano, you'll feel good. If you just stand something, making a meditation bench, standing for 10 hours, you just start to feel good because you focus on one thing. And when I focus on one thing, the mind becomes calm. That's the second thing that happens. And with that, you feel good. You can do the same thing playing piano or doing math or just reading a book. Mind becomes calm, you forget everything else. The third thing that happens is that sometimes it does happen. The mind is still agitated and active, and I notice this, and I'm not affected by it. It's really a quaint experience, as if I'm watching someone else, as if I'm a third person watching someone else.
Yeah.
And then and then it's subjective again. It's not objective. Instantly, I'm lost in my thoughts again. I lost that third person objectivity, and I'm not able to maintain this third person objectivity of my.
You're not going to maintain it. There's no maintaining.
Isn't that what enlightenment is?
But you're not enlightened.
I want to be enlightened, but
That's the problem. You're trying to achieve. There's no achievement in the practice.
Well, how can I at least make it last longer so I can enjoy it more?
See?
Okay, undesire again, craving. Okay.
That's craving. That's attachment.
It's like a
your question about attachment when it's being suffering. You see you're suffering now?
Yeah, it's like trying to
Because of
climb
your
up
attachment,
on a
right?
low pole.
Because of the attachment of your view of I should be able to fall into this state. I should be able to work myself into this state.
So this third experience may or may not happen. Feeling good when you meditate takes out. It's a game of effort. It's like chess. The harder you play, the better you win. If I really focus, I'll feel good. If I really focus, my mind becomes quiet. Those are guaranteed. But this third
They're not
part,
guaranteed.
well, for me it is.
No,
Okay,
you just said that you
drop.
drop in and out.
The
There's no
third
guarantee.
part, the third part drops in and out. I can't make it happen. The third part.
So the calmness is not guaranteed, no matter what you do. It comes when you have the right condition for it to manifest itself.
I feel calm when the mind is calm. But there are moments when, even when the mind is still agitated, I feel not reactive to it, meaning I don't get upset by it. It's a strange, I'm upset but I'm not upset by it. I'm upset but I'm not upset about being upset. I can observe myself being upset without being, I don't know, reactive.
No, if you say you're upset,
it feels good.
If you say you're upset, you're upset.
My body's upset, my mind is upset, but I'm not upset. I don't know how to describe it. That's the third, that's the part I said I can't explain.
That's delusional.
What is the experience or trying to explain it?
No. What you're saying. You're dropping in and out of a state. So you're confused. The present moment is only a moment. That moment, if you're analyzing it, is not a moment. You're looking at the past. You saw calmness. The moment that you're agitated, you say to yourself, wait a minute, I'm agitated, but I'm not agitated. The moment that you're agitated and you say you're not, oh, I'm seeing this. What you're seeing is you're analyzing what has already passed. And you can't differentiate between the present and the past. When you calm, it's happening, it's the same way. You say you're calm, you are able to see all this distraction and the non-calmness. You're actually analyzing the past, the moment that just passed. When I say moment, I'm not talking about a second. I'm not talking about a minute. The moment is a thought. If you have to measure it, it's millions of seconds. It's so fast that it's so easy for us to get confused between the state. You're going through state to state, moment to moment. But when you try to look back, you're looking at an event, not a moment. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, the problem that you had 5 years ago.
Yeah.
You still have that problem in your meditation.
I'm more clear on it now, though. I'm more conscious of it now.
Right? But there's you still have the craving. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
That craving is really strong in you.
Buddha had this, Siddhartha had the same craving.
Doesn't matter. He's dead. He has nothing to do with you.
We're Buddhists.
No. When the Buddha was alive, there is no Buddhism. There's no Buddhism.
He had a craving to find peace, and I have the same craving.
No. He had a craving to find peace. He found it. And what did he say? Get rid of your craving.
Okay.
He said, forget it. Forget.
Get rid of the craving. Forget about the craving. See your craving, let it go.
But
That's how you find peace. You don't crave for something and get to liberation.
But it's what motivated him to practice.
No.
Mình biết cái quá khứ, cái niệm mình nhớ nó là không thật, tương lai là cũng không thật, nhưng mà mình vẫn sống biết với hiện giây phút hiện tại là mắt mình biết thấy.
Anh cha này, cái trở lại anh cha này đó, là anh muốn giác ngộ. Khi nào cũng
Nhưng mà
giác
mình
ngộ đó.
phải theo cái thứ tự của bài kinh này nè,
Yeah.
phải có cái tâm an định, mà muốn tâm an định phải tập thiền, đi thiền, ngồi thiền, đứng thiền, nằm thiền. Cái thứ hai nữa là phải học, hiểu biết chánh pháp, để mình đi không có lệch đường, lệch hướng. Cái thứ ba là phải có cái tâm kiên cố bền vững, mình phải thực tập mỗi ngày liên tục. Nhiều khi mình thấy nghe hiểu và dễ rồi mình xem thường, mình chỉ ứng dụng một ngày một bữa rồi cái mình muốn ra giác ngộ liền không được, mình phải liên tục mỗi ngày nó qua đi. Vì tập khí mà nó nhiều đời nhiều kiếp rồi, cho nên phải nhất là tâm an định, phải thực tập. Thứ hai là hiểu biết chánh pháp thì mình đi đúng con đường. Thứ ba là phải tâm kiên cố bền vững dài.
So he was talking about the practice itself. The practice is that, okay, sitting in meditation is not enough. You have to understand the doctrine, you have to understand the teaching, and then you apply it correctly. Then you won't get confused. The Buddha says, no craving. If you want to walk towards liberation, there should be no craving of anything. There's a Zen saying, if you see a Buddha on your path,
Kill it.
kill it. Why? Why is that? Why kill the Buddha? Because that Buddha is an idea. Is your imagination. The true Buddha is the nature of non-craving, no hatred, non-attachment, non-self. So if you see a Buddha up there, it's not real. Let go of the craving, let go of the attachment, let go of the delusion in terms of the doctrine of that everything's permanent or should be permanent. Understand what your suffering is, so that you can identify that through your practice, and you simply practice to let go. That's why it's very important that why do we come back to the present moment? Because that's the only time that you can practice. That's the only time that you can let go. You can't let go of the past. You can't let go of the future. You can't even have the future. It's not there yet. Right? So that's where the craving is what? Craving is the mind in the future. I'm here. I want to be there. I'm in this state. I don't like it. I want to be in this Buddha state. You see? The Buddha doesn't live in the future, doesn't live in the past. The Buddha only lives in a moment. But we label as the present moment. Does that make sense?
Crystal.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Nguyện đem công đức này hướng về khắp tất cả đệ tử và chúng sanh đều trọn thành Phật đạo. Rồi, see you everyone and good night.
I have a Buddha story for you.
Okay.